Welcome all to this exclusive broadcast on the entrepreneur's journey to raise funds. This project is brought to you through a collaboration between Leaders League, an international experts ranking agency, and the 3D Experience Lab of Dassault Systèmes. Now, who's better to introduce the 3D Experience Lab of Dassault Systèmes but his founder? We have Vitrich to present to us the genesis of this project and the beautiful companies it fosters.
Thank you, Aline. So yes, the 3D Experience Lab initiative, created 7 years ago, wants to accelerate disruptive innovations that strongly impact the society. So it's an open innovation program by Dassault Systèmes, available everywhere around the globe. We are in 140 countries, covering 11 industries. And we created physical labs, which are acting as hubs in the different geographies, in Boston, in Paris and Munich, and in India, to support this new ecosystem of innovators. What we expect is to accelerate projects that will bring real solutions against our huge challenge we have in front of us. So we are monitoring the 17th United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in order to identify early stage projects that could bring something and help our society for. Dassault Systèmes is used to work with big industrials everywhere, with SMBs as well, and more and more, and thanks to the cloud, we can tackle and touch individual startups on the not only the 3D Experience Lab startups, but all startup ecosystems needs to be well supported. So we created with the lab an approach, a mentoring approach with any Dassault Systèmes employees having skills can take 10% of their time to mentor one of those startups being part of the lab. But more generally, any startups we serve throughout our programs needs to have advices on support to raise funds, as it is the way to scale up on growth. And we've decided to build this program thanks to feedbacks we got on real questions we got from our startups on trying with experts to answer all those questions. So hopefully it will really benefit to all of you.
And that's the idea. To shape this content, we know that the 3D Experience Lab is bringing the technological support, and we, as the ranking agency Leaders League, who ranks lawyers, investment funds, bankers, and strategic advisors, we've brought together all the best experts to give advice to the startups. Starting a company and scaling it is a long process. Beyond the bright business idea, there's a wide range of experts that are required next to entrepreneurs by their side to succeed. While shaping this content, we have interviewed 7 brilliant entrepreneurs accompanied by the 3D Experience Lab program in order to better understand their needs and to tailor the advice you'll be hearing today. So as to provide advice and map out the road to success, we have gathered renowned experts that you'll be hearing today and that are needed in a company's life. A corporate lawyer for structuration, and we have the pleasure to have Guillaume Vitrich, who is the partner of M&A in private equity, leading the tech and fast growth practice at White & Case, who's present in 44 offices around the world. And as to IP, we have Valérie Feray, the CEO of Ipsilon, who is founder and CEO, present in France, Germany, Benelux, and China, and also the US, to advise us on the valuation of innovation. Thank you both for being here. And to start this counseling session for the entrepreneurs, it all starts with a sense of timing. You have accompanied many founders in their journey to raise funds. How do you think this specific time in a company's life should be approached?
Well, first, thanks for having us. Well, it's always a challenging time, when you do that. You have to integrate day one that it's going to be time-consuming, and you want to ensure as a founder, as the management of the company, that you're going to organize yourself to the maximum extent possible to reduce defocusing yourself on what you do better, which is growing the company, taking it to the next level. So what it means? It means one thing, which is key. Preparation is paramount. So how do you do that? What does it mean, preparation? Well, it actually means things internally and externally. Externally, you're going to be dealing with two different things. It's obviously investors. They're going to be looking at your company. So you want to make sure that your data room, the various elements that you're going to show to the investors are ready. And the second element externally towards the investor is have an idea already of the terms that you're going to be discussing for raising funds, the economic terms, right? And the second part of it is the part that's internal, right? Internally, you want to prepare yourself. What does it mean? It means that if you have a co-founder, usually one is better at finance and legal, the other one is better operationally. So you want to make sure that you assign the work so that one is staying really focused on the work, on the growth of the company, and the other one is maybe going to be leading the fundraising, right? And you want to also, and that's the second group of person you may want to discuss internally, is maybe you have already friends and family in your capital, usually, or business angels. You want to discuss with them. Are they on board? Do they want to sell? So when you get in to the process, you have already cleared a few boundaries, and I think that's key.
Absolutely. And when we look at the founding steps, there are quite mixed perceptions on intellectual property. Some founders are considering it costly, time-consuming, and don't necessarily understand the benefits. You work closely with investors. You've opened your own company to a fund, an external fund investor. What is your perception on the subject?
So you won't be surprised that I don't share this perception that it is costly and lengthy. The whole thing is to really take care of IP as soon as possible in the process. And it is all the more important as when you have investors and when your company is a tech company, the investors will require that you have taken care of IP. So you have to do that as soon as possible, as the soonest you do it and the less time it takes to you. Because the soonest you do it and you discuss the IP issues with specialists, and the soonest the specialists can orientate you towards the solution and the strategy for protecting your IP in terms of countries, in terms of costs, in terms of optimization of costs, and also with something which is very important, the soonest you do it, the soonest you may be aware of maybe rights, patents of third parties that may endanger your developments, and doing this, you will develop new solutions that will go around the competitors' patents. So it is very important. It is not lengthy when you take it very early. And for as far as costs are concerned, it's true that there are costs, but that these are costs which are absolutely essential so that the investors have trust in your technology.
While doing the interviews with the different startups, they mentioned, should we invest on a strong local IP or should we invest on a lighter but more global one? So what's your take on that? And they also asked us, should we go for attack or defense in terms of strategy?
So that's a very, very broad question. But most of the time, your market is not only national. Your market is for example, when you are based in Europe, your market is European. Certainly your market will be US at least. So you have to consider protection, at least in the main markets where you are. Patent protection is either protection on your market or on the place where your competitors are going to manufacture. So it allows you to make a trade-off and choose the most important countries. So it's not necessary to cover all countries. It's necessary to target really the optimized countries where you will have biggest market or biggest competitors. So this is one point which is very important. Now, coming to the USA, which is always seen as very problematic. First of all, you have to know that getting protection in the US is not that expensive. However, litigating in the US is very expensive. But the system is made so as to lead you to negotiation. And that's what's the most interesting, because it leads you to negotiations either when you are attacking or when you are attacked. And when you are the owner of the patent, it may allow you to have a business agreement which is much more interesting and goes much further than the simple outcome of a patent litigation.
You mentioned the importance of the opportunity of negotiation, and this makes me go back to you, Guillaume. A preliminary question: how to deal with a small company that operates in multiple countries? First, in terms of structuration, what would you advise? And when it comes to negotiations, anticipating is key, I'm guessing. What's the role of the corporate lawyer?
Well, I really agree with Valérie in the fact that, dealing with IP, making sure it's rightly done is key, related to what I was saying when you open your data room. So first, I want to acknowledge that it's really key. With respect to your question on structure, all the companies that we see now, there are a few exceptions, of course, but they go, for a broad market day one. So they integrate that reflection day one. They usually, when we see them in France, they start a company in France and they think broadly. They incorporate entities when they want to operate in the US. Sometimes they do a flip, which is reincorporating in the US and having their holding company in the US. But most of the time, they stay in France, which is a very competitive market. I want to acknowledge that also. A very good place to start a company from a corporate law standpoint, from a tax standpoint, all the incentives, all the talents also are here. So you want to make sure that you have a clear strategy. You want to make sure that you don't take decisions really quickly by saying, oh, no, I have more clients in the US, I'm going to be a US company, and then I'm leaving France. This has big implications. You want to also think about a global strategy for employee incentives. It's key when you're in several jurisdictions that you're able to have a global plan. There's not going to be a one-size-fits-all, but still you want to make sure that you're able to incentive everyone. So I think knowing your market, knowing where you want to locate your IP, knowing what's key in terms of incentive are the drivers to decide how you're going to structure your future group in various jurisdictions.
The objective of this broadcast is also to tackle misconceptions. And when we think about IP, we immediately associate it with patents. We'll see later that a lot of the companies, the startups from the 3D Experience Lab are both working on hardware and software. When it comes to patents, hardware, software, are they different? Can they be patented together? What's the vision on that if the misconception can be addressed?
Yeah, you're right. It's a big misconception in the field of IP and especially of patents. And a lot of people, and I want to really insist on that, they think that software cannot be patented. That is absolutely not true. And especially for companies, hardware companies, when they have software linked to their hardware, that is completely untrue. And patent is the strongest protection for software. The other protection for software is copyright. Copyright is much, much weaker. So whenever there is a software developed in the course of the development of a product or of a technology, it is possible to patent it, and the companies should think of that at a very early stage as well. Apart from that, of course, there are trademarks, which are also very important, but I think this is not so much of a problem of misconception. But once again, I insist that software can be patented.
An essential document that should be carried around in the company's lifetime. During the fundraising, there are a lot of very strategic documents that need to be wisely and cautionally prepared. Could you maybe recap a bit what's the essential point?
The key document is obviously the shareholders agreement, because the shareholders agreement is the document in which you're going to set all the principles explaining how you live with your various shareholders. meaning how the founders interact and live with the investors, the business angels, all the shareholders in the company. And there are at least three key elements in a shareholders agreement. First, governance, that's obvious. How you decide, what's the decision-making process, Usually when you're an investor, you have a say on strategic decisions. It means that you're going to create a board, you're going to have value added. That's really important. That's something sometimes the founder misses. They see creating a board or having an investor as someone who's bringing money, but it's someone who's bringing money, but also bringing experience. It's someone who's going to be sitting at your board, asking the right questions, sometimes asking tricky questions, but that's what you want, right? So governance is one of the key elements of the shareholders agreement. You know that there are certain decisions as a founder that you're not going to be able to decide by yourself anymore, because you're going to give a veto right to the investor. The second key portion of a shareholders agreement is how you deal with capital, how you transfer shares. Is there a lockup preventing you from selling? Is there a liquidity provision, i.e. the investor is saying, well, 5 years or 6 years from now, we're going to sit together and look if there is an exit possible, because I'm an investor, I need my money back, I need to give it back to my LPs sometimes. So that's key, because you're already setting the future of the company, and sometimes you're giving the key to them, which means that you're giving them the ability to force to transfer the company. And the third portion is everything around founders. Sometimes IP, making sure that they don't own themselves the IP rights, so everything is in the company. Leaver clauses, that's something that's very emotional for founders, because you want to address what happens if they leave, or if there is an issue, something wrong happens. So those are the three key elements. And maybe one additional layer which is always decided at the time of a fundraising, is employee option pool. I mentioned that earlier on the discussion. You want to be setting a pool of options, of instruments that you're going to be able to grant to the employee. So that's, in a nutshell, the key elements of a legal documentation for an equity fundraising.
You mentioned employees, IP, ownership of it. I think there are also a few steps that are required to ensure the ownership of the intellectual property within companies. You must have seen things with startups. Could you give us a few tips for the founders?
Of course. This is a very important point, especially in France, because these are aspects that the founders of companies not always think about. Usually the founders are not employees of the company. If they are not employees of the company and they make an invention that leads to a patent, the patent does not automatically belong to the company, which is not the case when they are employees. In France, inventions made by employees automatically belong to the company with which the employee is employed, but not for legal representatives or founders. So they need to be very careful, and this will very often happen at the time they raise funds with the property, the ownership, and they need to have agreements between themselves and the company that they have transferred the rights to their inventions.
Going back to the introduction, we mentioned the sense of timing, and I have now a question for both of you, coming from the founders themselves. To optimize the go-to-market time, should companies rush to production and become leaders of their markets, or should they take the time to structure, invest in IP, and don't miss any opportunity to secure everything? Who wants to take it first?
Okay, I can. I would say both. Of course, both, because you see, if you start too late with IP, then it will be too late to protect. We have not spoken about the fact that disclosing the inventions prior to filing a patent destroys any possibility to have a patent. So really, I would say both, and I would say that having advisors who have an entrepreneur DNA is something very important when you look for someone to accompany you on IP matters. Think about that. DNA, entrepreneur DNA advisors, consultants are here to help you.
I wanted to disagree, but I can only agree because it's just striking the right balance. You know, you have entrepreneurs who just think being first on the market, being the leader is what matters, and then you're going to fix the issues. That's a mentality that was, you know, very much happening maybe 5-10 years ago. It's like really go to market, be your market leader. We're going to see then what happens. I don't think that works anymore because first, there are advisors who are saying, hey, wait a second, it's really important that you continue to grow. And of course, you want to be the leader on your market. But if you don't do that right day one, you're going to have major issues. And you may be the leader 6 months or a year from now, but then you're going to try to raise fund and they're going to say, wait, there is a major issue with IP. There is a major issue with the way you have structured your tax regime or anything else. So it's really striking the balance, and I think advisors are here to help them understand that all the legal matter, and when I'm saying legal, I'm including obviously IP, corporate tax, are here to help grow and are not going to be a brake on the growth. They can be actually helpful to get to the next step because you're not going to build a large group by taking shortcuts on those items.
Thank you both for your participation to this broadcast
Pleasure.
and this wise advice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.